Is that okay for your dad to have a meme coin?
I think, of course, when he did that before he was in office, he did these things. The reason we got into crypto, and we're all in on crypto, and we're doing American Bitcoin, and we have World Liberty Finance and USD1 was because there was a time, and probably I'd been on this show, where I could call any single banker in New York City. They'd pick up the phone. I'd be able to get a loan for whatever real estate project I was doing across the street. Then we got into politics, and all of a sudden, they wouldn't take your call. Right. You couldn't get financing.
And that is why we now have to take a bunch of our followers' money to make us much more rich. Welcome, everybody, to the morning show. I hope you're doing absolutely wonderful. That was Donald Trump Jr. being confronted over his dad's corruption. And amid his panic about not being able to explain it away, he just starts talking about how victimized they are. The forever and almighty victims. They've been debanked. He's about to go on to say, I'll play more of this. But of course, there is no justification. Trump didn't set up the meme coin. And even if he supported crypto, like I support making it more common through deregulation or whatever, that would not mean he has to set up a personal one where you can funnel money to him while he's the sitting president. And he launched it, if I'm not mistaken, like the day before his inauguration or something. So he's just been doing meme coin stuff, crypto stuff forever. So what do you expect him to stop it all of a sudden? It's not a rational justification. And it's one of the most corrupt things we've seen in politics, maybe ever, where you could just hand a digital check to the president and make him a bunch of money while we go along. As always, if you become a member by clicking the join button on YouTube below while we're still live, then I will read your name out and thank you. And I do thank everyone for joining us either live or on the recorded versions later on. Let's check back in on Don Jr.'s word vomit.
We were debanked. And what I realized, and my brother realized, because we were the recipients of every subpoena imaginable, was that, you know what? We were actually just the top of this sort of pyramid scheme that we didn't realize we were a part of, that the financial system was totally undemocratized because we had a certain balance sheet and whatever, we could kind of do whatever we wanted. The regular guy was messed up. Now we were all of a sudden in the shoes of the regular guy that wouldn't be able to take advantage of the markets. And we said, what's the solution for that? The answer is crypto.
No.
Centralized platforms where you're not beholden to this, where you create efficiencies. As a guy that did real estate, why am I paying points in and out for title insurance that could be done on the blockchain? So we got into crypto not because it was like, hey, this is the next cool thing. We got into it out of necessity. We got into it because we understood just how quickly we could be turned off.
This is the equivalent. Well, the value of the words he gave there would be as if Joe Kernan went, hey, what's going on with his meme coin? Is that appropriate for your dad to have a way that people can just buy his meme coin, funneling him money? Is that appropriate? And if Don Jr. went, and just
I don't snort all cocaine.
Yeah, or that. It would be that meaningful. He just had a bunch of words. Oh, we're the victims. We've been debanked. Really? And we learned that the little guy, they need crypto. And so the way that we get them crypto is by setting up a highly volatile, high risk cryptocurrency that they can buy, which most likely they'll lose their money. But do you know who makes money in the process? Like, that's not... Maybe you have an argument, you don't. But if you're just generally, as president, going to support the crypto industry through your policies, him setting up a personal meme coin does none of that. It just makes him money and loses a lot of his followers a bunch of money. And Donald Trump Jr.'s just sort of word salad there doesn't make it make any more sense. Thank you so much to Somatoil for you, who said almost a year. Time flies. Keep up the good work, Luke. They've almost been a member for a year. That is incredible. That goes back to, I think, about when we even started doing memberships through YouTube. Now, remember that Donald Trump Jr., if you want to hear more of that beautiful voice there and get more thoughtful answers like that one, then maybe you should support his run for president that obviously he wants to launch.
After President Trump steps down, would you consider picking up the reins? Would you run for office?
Here we go. Well, oh boy. Well, it's an honor to be asked.
Yeah, so when we originally covered that clip, of course, we couldn't help to notice this little debacle. He's smiling, and stop. He's smiling, and stop. He's smiling, and gone. That's not how normal people fade away from a smile. It reminds me of like a TikTok video. I'm on TikTok, guys. I cannot believe what I just heard. I cannot believe what Cole just did. We now have the wildly irritating TikTok outro on the soundboard. I both love and hate you, Cole. That's the craziest shock of my life. All right, let's keep watching.
Well, it's an honor to be asked and an honor to see that some people are okay with it.
Those are just our friends.
Yeah,
in the front
that's
row,
probably just a couple people we know.
Team.
Those are the
three
tickets
people
we got. Yeah,
that's it. Right.
You never know. Right now, this has been my focus. I think it's not just about government. It's also about, the business sector doing that. I think when we saw...
Doing what? He never specified what the that was, and then he introduced the term that.
Again, the woke ideology that has taken over corporate America for the last, decade or so, being on the forefront of combating that insanity, I think is fundamentally important. I think those two things have to go hand in hand. So the answer is, I don't know, maybe one day... that calling is there. I'll always be very active in terms of being a vocal proponent of these things. I think my father has truly changed, the Republican Party. I think it's the America First Party now, the MAGA Party, however you want to look at it.
Thinking about Donald Trump Jr. running for president, and then obviously thinking about him becoming president, which I don't think would happen, but who even knows anymore? Sometimes I just feel like the American electorate's playing a sick joke on ourselves. That's the type of thing that I want to go and I don't even care. I'll go back to, I actually enjoyed when I was a server at a restaurant. I'll just be a server at a restaurant and never look at politics again, never talk about politics again. I won't do this show I'm not literally, I'm sure if this happened, I would keep doing this, but it makes me want to just give up on this. Imagining Americans going, Trump. Maybe Don Jr. would be a good president. You see how his dad did so many terrible things? Maybe he would do good things. Oh, yikes. It would be a huge slap in the face or kick in the face.
Emilio Rodriguez.
Yeah. Knockout. So for our podcast listeners, at a high school graduation, you've seen those viral videos. Again, TikTok is destroying all of us. Don't. Cole. Because why did the person do that? They wanted a viral video. I won't specify which platform on. They wanted a viral video. And so they did a backflip. Again, so our podcast listeners can know what's going on. And instead of looking around and making sure that their backflip wouldn't go into another student, they backflipped and kicked a student in the face. Now, it's almost, it looks like the person's okay. So anything I'm about to say is under the assumption that this kid is okay. Okay. But the backflip was almost impressive. It was impressive, actually. No, not almost. It was. And you see in the movies, like, people backflip and kick people, and you're thinking, you can't really do that. That you wouldn't. Surely you couldn't do that, right? You can, and they proved it there. You can backflip kick people. One more time.
Emilio Rodriguez.
Oh. Now, I hate to victim blame, but I think it was kind of the woman's fault who got kicked. Now, if I learn that she got like some severe injury, I'm going to feel really bad. Just take this all with a grain of salt. but she kind of ran too fast. Look at this. Look at this. Ready? So you're supposed to slowly walk across the stage and shake the hand. She did sort of a yay and ran.
Emilio Rodriguez.
Yeah, see? Yeah. I love how the announcer, it turns into UFC. Oh, and with a brutal right hook. What do you think of that, Joe Rogan? Whoa. That's really funny. Oh.
Emilio Rodriguez.
Yeah. She's okay. Get up. You're all right. You're okay. That was always the response every time, always growing up. Anytime you get hurt, you're okay. Come on, get up. My leg is pointing the wrong direction. Get up. You're fine. Here's an Advil. I don't know if I experienced that or if I just heard that somewhere, but it feels like something I would have experienced. Feels like something that my dad would have told me that he experienced, and then I internalized it. You have it so easy, son. I used to have to walk back from school after my leg was pointing the wrong direction. Or my grandpa. I walked to school in the snow uphill both ways. Figure that one out. That whole thing. I had it tough too. Okay. Sometimes on the way to school, on like a cold day, like you know how like the car takes a while to heat up. So it would be like we would get to school and it would finally be heated up. So then it's like, hey, Dad, now you get a hot car on your way to work. But the way to school, I was cold. So that was really where my crucible maybe is where I was forged through fire. But different people have different. But back to this backflip kick. This is how I feel. I am the girl who got kicked in the face whenever I think about where we're headed in politics, where it's even a conversation that Don Jr. would run. It's like, I'd rather be kicked in the face over and over again than have to even be in that timeline. But by the way, this whole TikTok thing, I'm serious. Don't. It's actually irritating. I'm scared. I'm scared it's gonna get me again. Unplug his soundboard, Jaden. No, I am actually worried about the TikTokification of the world of America, where everything now is about a viral video, right? And a lot of human interactions. Whenever I'm somewhere and someone starts acting weird, I don't know if it's because they're like filming, hidden camera, this is gonna be funny, and then people are doing backflips into their friends because they think it's gonna be a good video, probably. And what happens as this continues is meaningful human experiences are no longer meaningful if they're not going viral. And that's sad. That is sad. Okay. Jordan Peterson. We've been covering very much thank you to Matt Lambert for the super chat saying ultra corrupt Trump pump and dump. Indeed. We've been covering this whole masculinity thing and how Democrats are trying to win back the men. Jordan Peterson's now jumping into the discussion as a notable masculine man. And I don't care about that, by the way. But he's like pontificating on, is Tim Walz masculine enough? It's like, hey, Jordan, sit this one out. All right. Like I also probably am not going to be doing masculinity offs. That sounds different than how it sounded in my head. Man offs? No, that also sounds manhood offs? That all sounds wrong, but you get the point, like a competition of how masculine people are. Because I don't that's weird and cringe. And maybe I'm not the right person for that. But Jordan Peterson is definitely not the right person for that. I can tell you for certain.
The Democrats, all they can do is ape respect for masculinity. I mean, they tried to trot out Tim Walz as a man, You know, I mean, really, I mean, you know, there are worse.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had a vagina. He's not even a man at all. They tried to convince us he was a man. They said Tim Waltz is a man. Curious.
Tried to trot out Tim Waltz as a man. You know, I mean, really, I mean, you know, there are worse examples of men than Tim Waltz, admittedly, but we might also point out
No one's coming to mind, but I'm sure theoretically, spend enough time
if you're
on
looking
it.
if you're looking for archetype of admirable masculinity, I wouldn't start with him. You know?
No.
I mean, right. Well, and the fact that that was even an idea, I'm not trying to denigrate Waltz specifically, but the idea that
can I just say on the same front, yes, as horrible as they come. I mean, tampon in the boys' rooms, that's enough. Tampon Tim is enough to convince me he's not the archetype.
The
I want out. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. Tampon Tim. Oh, that's not true. Megyn Kelly's lying. So dumb. What are we doing? What are we doing? No, he didn't push for tampons in men's restrooms. You freak. And also, we let's be honest, Democrats ran Tim Waltz because he had a really strong record in Minnesota. That's just true, as Tucker would say. And he was a white dude, a pretty unabrasive one. And while running Kamala Harris, as dark and twisted as this is, as this concept is, kind of depressing, there was this feeling among probably her and her advisors that we need to pick someone who is the least offensive, right? Because people are going to be offended, I guess, by Kamala Harris. And so they picked her, or him. But that was also a good choice because he actually was good at governing. So it wasn't just an identity pick. He actually is one of the most effective governors in the country. But the whole, like, they ran him because he's a man, the reason I prefaced it by saying there was a feeling that they needed to pick a white dude. We all know that. It is true that they picked a man and they were going to pick a man. It wasn't going to be a 2-female ticket. But they weren't running Waltz like, hey, look at how manly he is. Like, man, if you only knew the size of it, then you would really vote for Kamala Harris. Like, I don't know, like, what, that's not really, wow, he's the most masculine governor we could find. That's not what the message was. It was, hey, he is unoffensive. So if you're uncomfy with the fact that Kamala Harris is different identities, then, hey, he's like, not those things, I guess. But at the same time, he's fought for really good progressive policies. He's been really effective. He does tap into well, he didn't, but we were trying to convince people, hoping that because of where he came from, he could tap into a certain electorate of dudes who fix their cars, you know, like he would do the car videos. But it wasn't, man, this guy is just so manly. But that's what they get all focused on. But I don't even blame them because Democrats are doing that too. How do we give more masculine energy? It's just this whole conversation is so cringy. Speaking of cringy, I'll remind you of Jordan Peterson, who apparently is the arbiter of masculinity, having a much younger man mental jujitsu him.
Lie to, like, save your children, your mom, your dad?
I don't think lying would save them.
Can there ever be a circumstance logically that lying could save someone?
Yeah, and if you're steeped in sin, you're likely to live in circumstances like that.
I'll give you an example. If you're like in like Nazi Germany, and it is the case that there's like Jewish people in your attic and you're trying to protect them,
example.
Would you lie to like the Nazis?
I would have done everything I bloody well could, so I wouldn't be in that situation to begin with. It's a hypothetical, and it's not answerable.
You can't answer hypotheticals?
No, I can't answer a hypothetical like that because it's far. Look.
Did you
Don't play games.
I'm not playing games. I'm just asking
Yes,
if
you
you ate
are.
it.
If you present me with an intractable moral choice that's stripped of context and you back me into a corner, you're playing game. I just told you I would do everything that I could to make sure that I'm never in that situation. By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a sin.
Being born in Nazi Germany and trying to protect people that you care about, like there could be a Jewish friend that you have and you want to protect them.
I think you should
have
just
them in
give
your
up on
attic.
that line of questioning.
Give up on just like trying to clarify your position? Because
I
you don't
did
like, are you like
clarify.
uncomfortable with me asking this question? It's just a basic hypothetical. Like I could ask you.
It's just a basic hypothetical where you put Jews' lives at stake in Nazi Germany. That's just a basic hypothetical.
Obviously, you would lie in that scenario to save their life, but you're like not trying to answer this question for some reason.
I just told you why.
Are you anti-fascist? Like, so you're
Why
anti-fascist?
are you asking that?
I was just asking, just clarifying. But like, okay, again, you're not answering this hypothetical because you know it shows that you clearly would lie to save someone's life.
Total side note, Parker here, I hung out with him. Can't say this about everyone in the biz. Good guy. Nice guy. If he gives you nice energy, he's a nice guy. Really cool person. That's a man right there. When I think... That's a man. No, seriously, he's awesome. Cole said, Q from my... Oh, Cole. Okay.
Clean, beautiful Cole.
Q for my 15-year-old. Do you think Trump trained people to hate non-whites, or did he just expose people's real feelings by making it okay to say it out loud? Didn't it feel like this before? No, I don't think Trump trained people to hate non-whites. I also don't like reducing his phenomenon to racism because there's a lot of... It's a very interesting blend of stuff, and if we miss all of the ingredients, then we won't understand how to combat it. So obviously there are racialized, hateful components, but to answer that specific question without getting into my whole broad thing about why I contextualize it that way, Trump is definitely the symptom of the problem. He didn't create any of the problems that we see with his movement, is my view. But he weaponized things for sure, and he tapped into racial animus. He tapped into these different forms of resentment. Moving forward, but good question. Moving forward, here is Senator Roger Marshall. When asked about Maria Bartiromo, I love this so much. He gets asked by Fox host Maria Bartiromo, hey, someone's predicting 4% GDP growth. Where are you now? Let me hear it again because maybe I heard that wrong. But where are you getting that? And he says, no, it's more of like a 4% attitude.
A lot of these senators are not really looking at the kind of growth that you're expecting or that the White House is expecting. Kevin Hassett said to expect 4%, potentially 4% growth in the second half of the year. What would trigger that kind of growth in your view?
So we had a GDP contraction last time we checked, but we're going to launch into 4%, which would be hot. That would be Trump talking about a hot economy. That would be a hot economy.
Second half.
Okay, how are we going to do that?
Well, I think number one is just an attitude. Already back home, I'm seeing manufacturing jobs grow and grow and grow that we can't keep up with the orders, and I think that's probably because of President Trump's tariffs. I think the deregulation will add a 0.5%, maybe a 1% growth. I think those are the first steps, but it's just this general attitude that we're the start of a new economy.
I love that so much. I love it. How do you plan to take us? What would that be, like a 7% swing? No, that's so wrong. 0.3. That'd be like a 4% swing. There we go. How are you going to see such a surge in the economy? I just think it's an attitude thing. Like when he says 4%, what he means is let's get in that 4% mindset. You know, like let's just feel it that way. All right, I don't know if that'll work, but he also references manufacturing. Everyone realizes that. No, not everyone realizes this. Hey, breaking news. We had right now we have 500,000. And we had about that going into the Trump administration of empty manufacturing jobs that are jobs that companies are trying to give to people, but there aren't the employees for it. Are they well paying enough? Probably not. A lot of them actually require more education, which is a part of the reason you want certain jobs that people can get if they don't have higher ed. But a big truth that people ignore is that there's actually more manufacturing jobs than we have people to fill them right now. So maybe an approach that addresses that instead of the sort of stick trade policy that Trump has enabled, it would be more rational, is my thought. Like, if we invested more in educating folks so that they could fill those jobs, some of them that do require more education, that would be a positive, affirmative approach. Sorry, I'm so distracted by this next story. So, New Zealand MP Laura McClure showed an AI image of herself in Parliament to highlight the dangers of artificial intelligence, and it's a nude image, as you can see there. Now, this is a very important topic, obviously, and combating now the way that people can be so violated by AI, creating porn of them in video form or in image form, and without their consent, and that needs to be combated. It's hard to ignore, though. That's a total side note, which is what popped in my head, though. I gotta be honest. Similar to the Nancy Mace story, where she hyped up for like a whole day that she was gonna show. She was like, "Get ready for this hearing. I'm doing it." And then she showed this image. I guess her ex is some sort of pervert who had cameras in their apartment and filmed her nude, which is obviously disgusting, and she should get all the accountability in the world. It is the showing it, and I say this with utter sympathy and full motivation to address this issue. And these are two different issues, but is showing it necessary? I don't know. I'm asking. Like, I know what a nude person looks like. No, I got it. I'm good. Like, I don't want you to have to be violated again by showing an image that you didn't want out there to us. Like, I don't need it. Obviously, this is blurred, but I don't think it was blurred in Parliament. Maybe it was, but do we need to show it? I don't know if we need to. Maybe we want to. I don't know if we need to. I think we can address the issue without that. I just picture like standing at the printer and it's like someone standing behind you and they're like, what the heck? What the heck? Sorry, it's I just have to nothing. Just I have to show it to show people that this shouldn't be something that's shown. Does that make sense? Like, I have to show people because otherwise they want to know what AI thinks that I look like nude. It's funny. It's bad. And whoever's doing that without people's consent, it should be punished. And we should have stronger laws around it, of course. And it's a funny thought to imagine standing at the printer. And I feel like, yeah, no, I'm going to move on. I feel like I'm in dangerous territory. This is interesting. One of the escapees from that Louisiana prison supposedly posted a video calling out to Trump and, let's see, who else? Other people too. Lil Wayne and Meek Mill. Two of my favorites. And saying, help me, essentially. I'm innocent.
And you.
Aw, dang it. That's always a bummer. Let's see if this works. There we go.
U.S. Marshals are investigating a video that appears to show one of the remaining escaped inmates who broke out of that New Orleans jail last month. The video, which was posted to Instagram and then later taken down, shows a man identifying himself as Antoine Massey. In the video, the man declares his innocence and then begs for help from the likes of Donald Trump, Lil Wayne, and Meek Mill. CNN's Ryan Young joins us now with much more on this. This video could be crucial.
When I get into legal trouble, which happens a lot, I mean, it does. I'm caught with a bunch of cocaine.
I don't snort cocaine.
I steal cars sometimes just for the thrill of it. Whatever I'm doing. Sometimes I'll just go into restaurants and steal all of their salt just to confuse them. Anyways, point is, when I get into legal trouble, the first thought I have is I need to call Meek Mill. I need to ring up Meek Mill and ask for help. That's my first thought. The cops say, "Why did you steal all of Mahdi's salt?" And I say, "'Cause now they don't have any salt." And that's funny. And then they say, "Hey, also," this is their second point. They're more concerned with the salt, but then they say, "Hey, also, why do you have 1 ton of cocaine in your backyard?" And I say, "It's salt." But then Meek comes by and convinces the cops to leave. So, anyways.
For investigators, but what are you hearing about this?
Yeah, this video, this story has all taken another twist and another turn. First, there was that escape that everyone sort of scratched their head at because they're still trying to figure out how the men got through that hole inside that jail. But at the same time, this video does give some context clues in terms of maybe where he is. Maybe they're trying to track the cell phone. Maybe they're trying to track the account. These are all things that they have been doing. And for the past 18 days, we've been calling our sources across 4 different states to ask what's going on with this search. Antoine Massey looked directly into the camera. He basically said, "Hey, I'm innocent, but look, let's just take a listen and see what he says himself."
You know what I'm saying? When I get back in custody, I'm asking y'all please to come and help. You feel what I'm saying? I'm asking the world. I'm letting y'all know I'm not a raping man. I'm not none of that. None of that.
Do you say I'm not a raping man? All right, I could help just work on sort of the particulars of how he makes this argument. I am not a raping man. I mean, I've raped, but I'm not like a raping man, you know? Like, okay, I'll have a cigarette, but I'm not a smoker. Oh, wow. Why has no one ever thought of that? Just tell the cops that. Hey, you know how like you could have a cigarette, but that doesn't mean you're a smoker? You could have a drink, but that doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. You can have a rape without being a rape guy. I'm not a raper. Okay, let's keep listening.
Let y'all know I'm not a raping man. I'm not none of that. None of that. I'm a good person. My name is Antoine Massey. I'm asking for help. I was one of the ones that was let out Orleans Parish jail on
This is crazy. I was let out. By who?
16 of May the 15th, 2025. So please, Meek Mills, Donald Trump, Lil Wayne, please help me.
Donald Trump. Did he say Meek Mill? I didn't hear Meek Mill. Meek Mill and Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, sorry. I said little. Lil. Well, if those 3 can't help you, I don't know who will. So I guess he's proclaiming his innocence. Let's see. The man identifying himself, Antoine Massey, one of the 10 escapees, or as he said, he was let out. Graffiti was left near the point of escape. No, I forgot about this. And they graffitied behind where they left. Too easy, lol. But they used the wrong 2. Come on. 2 O's, guys. Oh, my gosh. It's just, oh, gosh. Okay. Massey has a history of being on the run. Going back all the way since he was minor. Well, that makes me sad. That's kind of the system failing him in many ways. In the video posted to Instagram, Massey also sought help from rappers like Lil Wayne and Meek Mill when he's back in custody. He denied allegations of threatening a maintenance worker as part of the latest escape. There's a reward, and he's saying the system's corrupt. Just say that Biden weaponized the government against you and you're out, man. I'm serious. Just say, Joe, this is what the video should have been. Hi, I'm Anton Massey. This message is for Mr. Meek Mill, Mr. Lil Wayne, and Mr. President Donald Trump. For too long, the deep state Democratic establishment has sought to portray people like me who raped as rapists. When I am not a rapist. I made a few mistakes. A few people got raped. But I am not a raping man. But the Biden DOJ wanted to make me out that way. Because they hated you, Trump. And they knew that if they could get me for rape, then maybe one day they could get you for rape. Like that civil case. But both of us were wronged. Because Trump, even if, it happened, you're not like a raping man, right? So I'm asking for a pardon. Because Joe Biden would hate it, I think. Now, I want to be clear. I don't know if he even said raping man. I don't know. All I'm seeing here is allegations of assault. I know nothing about Anton Massey. So that was for purely humor's sake. I'm not making random allegations against someone of rape. It just was a funny turn of phrase. Let me listen one more time and see what he said.
You know what I'm saying? When I get back in custody, I'm asking y'all please to come and help. You feel what I'm saying? I'm asking the world.
Going on with this search, Antoine Massey looked directly into the camera. He basically said, hey, I'm innocent, but look, let's just take a listen and see what he says himself.
You know what I'm saying? When I get back in custody, I'm asking y'all please to come and help. You feel what I'm saying? I'm asking the world. I'm letting y'all know I'm not a raper man. I'm not none of that.
Yeah, that's what he said. But listen, I don't want to just throw out things. I don't know anything about his case. If he did happen to be innocent, I would want him to be, all of the proper justice, etc. But I had never heard the phrase, I'm not a raping man. Because it just doesn't sound right. You see this I've seen some of those, like homicide interviews with detectives. And like, did you do it? And the killer is like, I am not a killer. And you're like, I am not the type of person who would kill another person in cold blood. Okay, you're getting close to denying it, but you're not quite denying it. Did you do this murder? I would never murder. Okay, but this one. Like, why doesn't he just say, I didn't do that rape? Why is it I'm not a raping man? It's sort of like, how if you get one traffic ticket, or with border crossings, if you illegally are in the United States, like one violation's a misdemeanor, and then if you do it again, it's a felony. That's how he's thinking. He's like, all right, give me like a few chances. Just one or two is not making me a raping man per se. Anyways, you get the point. I know nothing about his case. I say that again. We're just having fun. And I hope that the best comes of everyone's life. His life, everyone's life.
Legalize comedy.
If he did rape somebody, I hope that he's in jail for a long time. Okay. You get it. Cole's distraught. Media reports FEMA chief reportedly told staff he was unaware there's a hurricane season. So that's good. This is like the Social Security Administration guy saying he didn't know like what the Social Security Administration was. The best and the brightest. No more DEI. Now we have only qualified people. Cole, thank you for the comment saying, comments in chat start every Tuesday with Taco Tuesday. No idea what that means, but thank you. The head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency left staffers baffled during a meeting on Monday when he said he was unaware of the U.S. having a hurricane season, which is from June 1st through November. They couldn't tell if he was being serious, Richardson's comment purporting ignorance about hurricane season spread among agency staff, spurring confusion and reigniting concern about his lack of familiarity with FEMA's operations, said three sources. The outlet went on to note that Richardson, who does not have disaster response experience, told agency employees that FEMA will not release a new disaster plan, lest it contradict the FEMA Review Council, which President Donald Trump created to evaluate the agency. Well, they're gutting it, and FEMA has not been responding as they should. We're seeing, despite Trump promising the opposite. Okay, we talked about on yesterday. Let's do another edition of "They're Distracting Us." Okay, I'll think of a better name, but they are Republicans, as they are pushing through something they know to be unpopular, which is why they keep lying about it. This legislation, and it could be one of the most notable pieces of legislation in a very long time. The reconciliation bill that guts crucial social programs while handing tax cuts to the rich. They're trying to focus on anything but that. So it could be Biden's decline. It could be Pride Month. Pride Month's out of control already, you know. We're 3 days in, it's already too crazy. Turn it into just Pride Week. Otherwise, we're going to die. And James Comer is bravely announcing, please look at this instead of that. And this is his new investigation into Biden. Joe Biden, the former president.
Absolutely. And we issued criminal referrals. Hunter Biden committed perjury. Jim Biden lied in front of Congress. And there are others in other investigations who
I like your eyebrows.
Who have lied, and there's been no accountability. So we're certainly going to continue to investigate, but we're desperately seeking accountability from the Department of Justice, and hopefully that'll happen, because when you talk about using the auto pen to sign these executive orders were many meant to Trump-proof this White House. And if we
White House
can find information that would lead us to believe that Joe Biden had no knowledge of those executive orders being signed in his name, then I think that the Trump administration...
What I'm about to say is a joke. And I'm being serious. The way James Comer says White House makes me think he thinks only white people should be there. We got this. They wanted to have a black woman in the White House. You can't have a black woman in the White House. I went up to visit Trump and I said, what are all these other people doing at the White House?
Administration could get them thrown out in court, and then Trump would be able to execute his agenda a whole lot easier without all the Trump proofing that happened with the auto pen at the end of the Biden administration.
So this is this resembles perfectly the way these right-wing narratives get going. Biden was old. When your legs don't work like they used to before, and you find yourself tripping over sandbag. I'm trying to think of funny lyrics for the chorus now. I can't think of it. Anyways, you get the point. His legs weren't working like they used to before. And at some point, that aging got to the brain. And sometimes you don't know. And this is something that psychologists or whoever's qualified, would tell you. Your body can be kind of losing its functionality, and your speaking ability could falter, but your critical thinking skills could still be present. So don't be gaslit into believing it was totally irrational to see Biden and go, okay, I see his signs of serious aging, and I don't love whenever it takes that long to get up the stairs, but he's doing a pretty dang good job. So I could believe that's the people around him, or the buck stops with him. Whatever's going on, his critical thinking skills seem fine. At some point, when you can't articulate your own pretty, at the point in time, successful governance on the world stage, now that's a big job of being president. And that's when things got really bad. But they can't just accept it for that, which is that people around Biden were trying to not let Americans really know that he would have moments where he was struggling, right? And that's kind of the cover-up thing. It's big as Watergate, Jake Tapper tells us. But it was a notable thing, right? When we notice he gets a little bit sleepy, a little EP, let's make sure that we don't have an event then, or let's make sure that we have him practice this thing before, whatever was going on, whatever the big cover-up was. But that's an interesting story, and that's relevant, and that's important. But they always have to take it then to multiply it by 10, right? So it goes from that, which is just a normal person as they age, and things start slowing down. And that eventually it's enough to where you wouldn't want that person to be president. And they become a bad candidate because they say, we beat Medicare. That's right, you beat the hell out of it. It just runs through my head over and over. You're the sucker. You're the loser. You got the morals of an alley cat. But they multiply it by 10, the right-wingers do, and go, oh no, he didn't know where he was. He thought that Jill Biden was his sister. He thought that Jill Biden was the president. Like, okay, have any of y'all ever had aging relatives? You know that's not how it is. You know that they could start, I'm stumbling over the words a lot. Again, things that eventually do become too much of an impediment for you to be president. I agree. That's why he dropped out the ticket, did it run again. Too late. Big mistake. He said he had no regrets. He should have regrets. That contributed to us losing. I'm mad about that. I'm mad at him. I'm mad at the Democratic Party. Okay, stop it. Chill. I always feel the need to address every single point I think people are thinking of, and it takes me a while to get to my points because of that. Most of you are like, Luke, we've heard this like 10 times. We get it. No, but I'm getting to a different point. So just hold. So they take it to the next level, which is that Biden was... So this is part one of the narrative. Take something that's true. Often this is the right-wing narrative building, and it happens on the left too. But you take a little kernel of truth. In this case, it was a big popcorn of truth. And you blossom it into something else. The metaphor is getting crazy, but just stick with me. It now blossoms. So a kernel turned into popcorn. Now it blossoms into a flower. And now you have a flower of partial truth. So now it's bigger than it was before. Now you can't eat it because it's not popcorn, but it's blossom. But then you stretch it and you dye it. So now it's a dyed, blossomed, stretched flower that came from a kernel that turned into a popcorn. What does that mean? Okay, you're thinking, what does that mean to me in my life? What it means is that this is too much fun. I'm sorry. What it means is that then it has to be, wait, what would make this even more scandalous? What if Biden didn't know when things were being signed on his behalf by the auto pin? All presidents since Bush, I think, or something, have used the auto pin. Whenever you don't have time or you don't want to actually go sign it, you just give your go ahead and then a machine signs your signature. And so they started saying, oh, Biden didn't know about a lot of things he was signing. Now, that's never been proven. There's not even a scrap of evidence of that. No one's claimed that. But it's just, that would be really interesting, right? If he didn't even know things were being signed. So then someone says it that way. What if? And the what if is not a crazy thing. What if? What if Jaden was a mass murderer? Like, I'm not saying he is, but what if? So then they throw out a what if. Imagine if, as a total side now, if Jaden were a mass murderer, and I always make that particular joke because it's so outlandish, and every time he's like, stop it. I might have to call Meek Mill to get me out of this. I'm not a murdering guy. I just murdered a couple people. So then it becomes, oh, I've heard so many people saying that Biden probably didn't know things were being signed. Surely that has to be kind of true, right? So then it's, well, our premise is that he didn't know. Now we just need to figure out which pieces of executive orders or documents he signed without his knowledge. So we went from a real story about Biden aging pretty normally and rapidly, which happens as people age, breaking news, and impacts their brain, all the way to we're certain he didn't know things were being signed on his behalf, and we need to investigate it and figure out which things he didn't know about. And I just walked through how they got there. So there's a journey. They don't skip there. But if you remove this journey, it's the craziest leap you could imagine. Because then every time, and this has happened multiple times, I've given the Reagan example, obviously this is happening with Trump, as people do end up feeling the impediments of age, do we have to ask every time or just assume every time? My hands were looking really small there. Wow. There's no association, as Trump says. But and then we go all the way back to, right, this is to me the slam dunk, which is, okay, I would not like to find out that Biden was having things signed that he didn't know about. We just don't have any evidence of that. And I think people are overplaying their hand on how declined Biden was. That sounds crazy because now it's just the cool thing to be like, he was gone. No, he wasn't. He was declining. Okay? He wasn't a declining guy. He just had moments of decline, as maybe our friend Anton would say. But Trump's the only one who ever admitted. That's the part I always come back to, because then there's more hypocrisy there to not knowing something was signed with his name when it was. And Trump's on the record going, I don't know.
I don't even know.
Exactly. About so many things that he did or that he should know about that he doesn't know about. So there's always hypocrisy to go around, obviously, as we're so used to. Jazzby, thank you for the super chat. Messiah T, whoa. Luke Rocks, thanks for the news with a smile. Aw, I love that. Absolutely. Speaking of, Air Canada released their... So Biden's decline, right? That's one of the things they're going to try to focus on so you don't focus on Medicaid being stripped away or SNAP. Pride Month is the other I told you about yesterday. The right-wing accounts are going berserko on Pride Month because if you're thinking about, why is that person who looks like a man wearing women things? Why is NFL saying they're bisexual? I hate it. Then maybe you won't be so focused on the disaster of policy that the Republican Party represents. That's my stance on this. Everyone's not doing it on purpose, but if they just talked about what the most relevant news item was, their accounts would die because it would be hard to advocate for the policy, the substantive things that align with their ideology. So instead, they have to fight these culture wars. And I saw that some of them were not happy about Air Canada's gay video. Pride Month video.
It was a bit of a range of emotions this morning coming here and getting dressed for this flight.
C'est un moment historique qu'on vit aujourd'hui. J'ai trouvé ça une bonne initiative pour la communauté entière. Je suis comme un petit thrill.
All right, we're not listening to this. I will read this though. Air Canada posted our first all minus 2S LG. All right, it's time. Luke Beasley Show PSA. Please welcome Luke Beasley. Hello. Today I address something I've been meaning to address. The acronym. I stand here proud of my brothers and sisters in the 2SLGBTQIA+ community. But I am calling on my brothers and sisters and people in the... Is the minus supposed to be there or is that a dash? I'm just going to go with 2SLGBTQIA+ community. That we need to make more succinct our acronym. I stand here today to say we love the gay, but there's too many letters. How can they love us if they can't remember the acronym? So I guess 2S is two spirits. And then a lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer. intersex, asexual, plus. So here's my question. This is a total tangent. But what's the plus for if we just add all the letters? Like, why not just make it smaller and then the plus represents all the other letters? I don't want to cut off anyone's letters, obviously. But what do you think about it this way? Do you think my grandma, who loves, I'll have you know, the 2SLGBTQIA plus community, she loves them, us, people. She loves all people, is the point. Do you think she's going to remember that? No, she's not. It's too much. We're gonna take down decades of progress because the acronym got too long. Oh gosh. So they said it. Our first all 2S LGBTQIA plus flight was a heart. Acronyms are supposed to make things more succinct, not less succinct. What are we doing? It's so good. Okay. Let me read it again. Our first all 2S LGBTQIA plus flight was a heartfelt celebration reflecting our unwavering commitment to inclusivity and equality in the air and on the ground. They did an all queer flight. Is that what they're saying? Wow. Now that's dangerous. That'd be a fun flight. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Everyone chill. So the right wing's going to be obsessed over Pride Month and how many letters there are or whatever. I did love this. Speaking of Pride Month, at like some parade or something, two guys came up to, I guess, someone who had the microphone and was going, "You're going to hell." You know those people? It's like, what? Nice, you convinced me. I was out here. I'm out. Yeah. But something about the way you said it convinced me. You're meaning to say you think I'm going to go to a hell? I hadn't heard that. Like with the fire. Me? The fact that you had a really big megaphone really convinced me this time.
I want to tell you. Hey, you know he loves you too.
Baby, we've been on that. We spiritual over here. My name is Judah. But, you know, I really think what you need to be doing is sitting here like, hey, y'all look great. Y'all want to come to church? Why is the whole thing like, hey, you bitches is going to hell? That's not true. Okay, one thing. I was made perfect. Okay,
So, that's a good point, actually. Perfect is a little. We're not made perfect. Okay, let me do something. We're not made perfect, but that's a good point. I like whenever it's funny that like a clearly inebriated random person just verbal jujitsu'd this guy, which is, hey, if you actually care about like converting people or whatever, do you think going, yeah, as he said, you bitches are going to hell, you think that's going to work more compellingly? Or being like, hey, y'all look great. Have you heard about Jesus? Like that would be more effective. Obviously, like just psychologically, people are going to, even if your goal is whatever, you're going to be more effective at that goal by winning people over as opposed to like shouting them down. Just necessarily, that's going to be true. So get ready. When the Republicans are stripping away healthcare during Pride Month, the MAGAs are going to be on a moral panic like you haven't seen about Pride Month. That's my point. That's my point. Glamorous Frog said, thanks for all the great streams, Luke. Oh, thank you so much. Well, that's where I'll leave it. That is where I'll leave it. Talk to you next time.